Hey, what is going on, guys? Back again with another video today. So this one will be a pretty interesting one to talk about since we haven't discussed about it just yet. I think I made a video on what Naughty Dog's working on next a year ago, but now that it's been a year ago, I think now is the perfect time to do so, let's get going. The Last of Us Part II Remastered is officially out. It's been out for a few weeks now, so hope you guys have been enjoying that. I've been enjoying it a lot. I love the new no return mode, love the lost levels, love all the additional skins they've been adding to this with Ellie and Abby skins. It's been all the perfect package just to play The Last of Us Part II again, especially with all the PS5 features, fast load times, haptic feedback, etc. But then Naughty Dog also released a documentary as well last month, Grounded 2, The Making of The Lost Part II. It gave a lot of insightful information on The Last of Us Part II's development, but also just showed the hardships of just game development in general with crunch time and just having to hit those deadlines. It was a really good watch. I definitely recommend you watching it if you haven't just yet. And there's also a little tease of something that we'll discuss about in the documentary. But yeah, just overall, The Last of Us Part II Remastered has just been a great experience, and after that, we don't know what to expect from Naughty Dog next, so that's the whole point of this video. So today we're going to be going over Naughty Dog's plan and just only speculate of what we could be possibly expecting within the next year or so, since we don't really know the roadmap for Naughty Dog and what they're going to be releasing. There are some hints here and there that we can speculate on and what to expect for the next year or two, like I said. But anyways, let's just get started. So going off of everything, we can't speculate that Naughty Dog is working on a new IP. Given that the studio has been currently developing a game at the very moment, we don't know what those two projects are going to be. They gave us a brief hint that they're working on 2 new single-player games at the studio, but of course we don't know what those projects are. As of since The Last of Us Part II released back in 2020, this new game that they're currently working on that's possibly going to be coming out soon after Part II Remastered's release will most likely be their new IP. Granted, I don't think Uncharted is over as a franchise, but we'll discuss about Uncharted a bit later. With these 2 ambitious brand new single player games being worked at Naughty Dog, I could assume after Last Part II's release, the new IP will be released first. Going off the speculation of a new IP, Sony has stated that there is no major existing IPs launching at the plan for PlayStation next financial year, so we shouldn't be expecting any sort of existing IPs like The Last of Us or Uncharted until sometime in March 2025. If we do end up seeing Naughty Dog's next game, it'll likely be a new IP if it gets announced this year. But the studio has been very focused on the Last of Us franchise as of the past few years now, which I'm totally grateful for, but I think now is the time for the studio to now delve into something new, which we could possibly see this year, since Sony won't be releasing any established IPs this year until after March 2025, so hopefully we get a first look at the new IP, but if not this year, then most likely sometime next year. As of what the new IP could be, it could honestly be anything. We obviously don't know exactly what the new IP will be exactly, what kind of genre it'll focus on, whether that be the whole rumors of Stray Cross. We don't know what it'll be, but we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully we get to see it this year, we'll just have to wait. Besides the first game that they're working on, which could be a new IP, as mentioned, they're also making a second game as well, which we have no clue what that'll be either. But given a lot of hints throughout the Grounded 2 documentary, and what Neil Druckmann has stated on the Last of Us franchise, I think we can know what that could be. So of course, could we see a potential Last of Us Part III? I definitely think so. Obviously that won't be for a very long time, but given the Grounded 2 documentary, Neil Druckmann did mention he did have an outline for Tommy as being a potential character in a new Last of Us game. He wasn't sure if that idea will ever happen, whether that be a new game or a TV show spinoff. But he also hasn't had an idea of what The Last of Us Part III will be about, but has recently just thought of a concept for it, and has even stated that he feels like there's at least one more chapter to the story. I definitely would say that the second game that Naughty Dog is developing right now is The Last of Us Part III, but it's currently in post-production. We of course won't be seeing that for a few more years. That's likely their second game that they're currently working on, with it being probably the furthest project away from the new IP. We do know that Neil is of course working on a new game. He's currently the writer/director of an unannounced game that we have yet to know. I definitely could see that being a part of the new IP, being a writer for that, but then also being a director for a potential Last of Us Part III at some time in the near future. It's hard to really know as of who's writing what, who's directing who, since Neil has been helming a lot of these games as of recently from, Uncharted 4, The Last of Us, Last of Us Part II, I'd like to assume that there is a whole other team that's currently working on the new IP, while Neil is also helping out with the new IP, but then also working on Last Part 3. We can only speculate that those two projects is what they're working on right now, but you never know what they could be also working on that we're just assuming one side when we're completely wrong within the next few years. So, we'll see. So outside of the Last of Us franchise and a new IP, I did want to touch upon the Uncharted series, since I believe Uncharted will come back in some sort of form, not from Naughty Dog, but from another studio. We do know at one point, Bend Studio was supposed to be working on a new Uncharted game alongside Naughty Dog, but Bend Studio wanted to be taken off the project to work on their own game, a brand new IP. Since that news a few years back, we don't know exactly where the Uncharted franchise stands as of right now, but we can speculate on that. So with a few years ago, with The Last of Us Part II's release, a modder going by the name of Speculizer went into The Last of Us Part II's files and managed to find a lot of Uncharted Drake's Fortune files that contain a lot of assets in the files. All these files were inside of Last of Us Part II, so it made no sense of course. But a few years ago, a journalist named Jason Schreier released an article talking about Naughty Dog and what their plans were and how Last of Us Part I came to be before its initial announcement. There was a team at Sony named Visual Arts Studios who were working on an Uncharted remake at the time. They wanted to make an Uncharted remake, but initially got told not to because it contained a lot of resources that took a lot of time, a lot of development costs, and that's why we got The Last of Us Part I remake. Since then, it seemed like the Uncharted Drake's Fortune remake is completely scrapped, that we wouldn't be seeing it anytime soon. But as of a few months ago, there's been reports that Naughty Dog is collaborating with the Visual Arts team to work on a new project. Naughty Dog is going to be helping the Visual Arts team at Sony to work on this new project. They're not going to be the main developers, but they're helping out with something that we still don't know what it is. Visual Arts team will be the main developers of this project, and while Visual Arts teams did help Naughty Dog with The Last Part I remake, they're collaborating again to work on a new project, all by themselves, but of course with Naughty Dog helping out with it. There's been speculations and rumor that this will be a new Uncharted game, whether that be the Uncharted 1 remake that was supposed to happen but didn't happen, but now it's being revived again, or it could possibly be a new Uncharted game in general. So either one, we could be seeing an Uncharted game come at some point, whether that be a remake of the first three, one, or just a completely new Uncharted game. I don't believe Sony is done with the Uncharted franchise, of course. It's one of Sony's biggest IPs, and there's just so much story to be told, or even just remaking the original classics on a more modern next-gen console. So personally, I wouldn't mind seeing those games on PS5. I'd love to replay those games again, especially 2. 2 is definitely my favorite amongst all the Uncharted games in general, so if we got to see 2 get remade, holy shit, that would be that'd be insane. That'd be a dream come true for me. But if 1 gets remade, then that's completely understandable. It's definitely one of the more outdated ones, but I wouldn't say it's not that outdated to the point that it's unplayable. But if all 3 games got remade, that'd be a dream come true, honestly. But we'll just have to wait and see. But those are just some speculations on what Naughty Dog is currently working on, or what other studios are currently working with to collaborate with Naughty Dog with. So I think Naughty Dog has a bright future ahead of itself with a new IP, a potential Last of Us Part 3 in the near dear future at some point, and a new Uncharted game, whether a remake or a brand new title in the series. I'd like to hope we see the new IP this year, considering that Sony won't be having any new established IP coming out this year. Hope we get some new IPs to be announced with Naughty Dog's new IP included. But anyways guys, that is it for this video. Just wanted to give you guys my speculations and thoughts of what Naughty Dog is currently working on and which studio they're currently collaborating with to make something happen. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. I talk about all Naughty Dog, Last of Us related things, Uncharted things, so be sure to subscribe just to get up to date with all that. Hit the notification bell as well to get notified when I make a new video as well. Be sure to follow the socials down below. But until then, I will see you guys next time.